Welcome to Crypto in Africa webinar, courtesy of Crypto in Africa and Bizin Africa. This session has been proudly sponsored by bitcasino.io in conjunction with sportsbet.io, the #1 crypto betting casino and sportsbook in Africa.
Well, it is kind of slow. Obviously, with government regulations and stuff like that, it does impede mass adoption. But I think it's going to take a bit more time. At the moment, I'd say we've probably grown quite a lot over the last few years in South Africa in particular. I know a lot of countries in North Africa have also adopted cryptocurrency at quite a fast pace over the last 2 or 3 years. I think it's not just in South Africa, but in Africa as a whole. People are losing faith in the traditional in the fiat currencies, the local currencies. Also, if you look at what happened over the last 2 years with COVID and stuff like that, as well as what's going on in Ukraine, there's a lot of factors over the last few years. If you look at what's going on in Ukraine and even during the COVID pandemic with the forced vaccination programs in the US and Canada, and how the government actually froze bank accounts of some of the protesters and the guys and the truckers. It pretty much, I think globally people have realized that there's something really wrong, and that's probably spurred a lot of growth in the cryptocurrency industry at the moment. You know, as far as blockchain security is concerned in Africa, generally, most of the security issues are the same as the global markets. Here in Africa, we have a few unique issues, like the fact that a large portion of our population in Africa accesses their wallets using a mobile device. This on its own is a security threat. If the device is lost or stolen and the owner has not secured the device properly, then they could potentially lose all their funds. This is also an issue in the Southeast Asian market. Another issue I think we have in Africa is that blockchain educational material is there's nothing in native African languages. So, I mean, understanding the fundamentals of how blockchains work and how the technology works can be a bit complicated for people who are not tech savvy. So, and most blockchain educational stuff is done in English. Now, if you're trying to understand something and it's your second or third language and you're using English as a medium, and it's a complicated technology that you're trying to understand, it complicates the learning process even further. You know, with the things with government, my opinion is not going to be very popular, but governments, particularly in African countries, South Africa included, are taking a far too presumptuous approach to blockchain technology. Governments want to maintain control. They use regulations as an excuse to protect their own interests. Often they claim it's for our own good, and they're regulating the industry to protect us, the people, from losing money, which is obviously not the case. I mean, if African governments actually cared about serving the people, and if they had the insight to understand the technology, we would already have a cryptocurrency for payments and trade within Africa, a unified African cryptocurrency. This would make remittance payments far easier, cheaper, more efficient, and will also facilitate trade within Africa itself. I mean, Africa is one of the richest continents in the world in terms of natural resources and raw materials. We've got some of the best coffee, chocolate, gold, diamonds, cobalt, uranium. The list goes on. You know, yet financially, we're one of the poorest continents. This is only because African governments are self-serving. They're happy to line their own pockets by giving first world countries a monopoly on our resources. with regulations coming in, it's people have to have to get a bit more creative on how they're going to venture into blockchain. What they can do is, or one idea is, they can buy electronic goods or assets like vehicles using their local currency, and then sell those items for cryptocurrency. They can then use that cryptocurrency to trade on decentralized exchanges, store in a wallet, or even earn a passive income on a DeFi platform. Well, there's quite a few ways to do that in terms of your actual wallet. Basically, what you can do is you can create another layer of encryption over your on your private keys. So, okay, let me start from the beginning. Right, first, what you want to do is you want to store your private keys safely, all right, and you want to keep it in multiple locations, and then you can add that extra layer of encryption to your private keys. Now, an easy way to do this is you either add 1 or -1, or add 2 or -2 to the characters in your private key. So, for example, let's say your first 3 characters in your private key are 2, D, and 4. If you use a +1, the +1 method, then it would become, the 2 would become 3, the D would become E, and the 4 would become 5. Does it make sense? So you write it down like that and keep it, you store it in that format. Obviously, you just got to remember what encryption method you use. It was +1 or -1 or +2 or -2. Hardware wallets are great, and it's good, definitely a way to go. People need to understand that obviously with a hardware wallet, you got to back it up properly as well. So some of the best ones you use are the Trezors. I personally use a Trezor hardware wallet as well. I think, when it comes to investing in projects, people have to do their own due diligence. It's important that you analyze the team behind the project. You got to look at have they got the experience to actually carry the project through. And one of the most important things I do myself recently is to ensure that the project has been audited by a reputable crypto audit company. Like Certic. By doing this, it minimizes the risk of any malicious code or backdoors being hidden in the smart contract by the developers. And yeah, I guess that's about it. I think the relationship between security issues and mass adoption is primarily driven by fear, uncertainty, and doubt that's spread by people who don't want to see blockchain and cryptocurrencies progress. These are generally people who stand to lose the most from mass adoption. But unfortunately, the industry has also attracted a fair amount of unethical and morally bankrupt individuals. Back in the ICO days, it was like the Wild West. Projects raised silly amounts of money and didn't develop their platforms, and they just rode off in the sunset with all the money. Now, a lot of new investors lost money during that time. Most of them have not come back to the industry. So this has obviously retarded mass adoption as well, to some extent. Like I said earlier, unfortunately, governments in Africa, and South Africa included, they regulate an industry not for our benefit, it's for their benefit. I mean, look, basically, it's our money. If we want to invest it in something that might be a little bit risky, we have the right to do that. They shouldn't be telling us how we can and should be spending our money. And governments only do it, like I said, to maintain control and power, and ensure that we don't have too much money outside of their own fiat monetary system or reserve bank monetary system. Absolutely. It basically removes the middleman. And by doing so, you remove, like, if you created a separate financial system that's outside of the reserve bank financial systems, it takes away the power of government. and large corporations and powerful families and so forth. But it puts the power back into, in the hands of the people. So I think that's the biggest challenge that we're going to have. Governments are resisting, especially African governments are resisting blockchain and cryptocurrency developments. But it's only a matter of time. It's gonna change. It has to change. I've noticed a lot of European countries have taken a much more relaxed approach to cryptocurrencies and blockchain now. So it's changing slowly. So yeah, hopefully over the next few years, we're going to see massive development here in Africa as well. Absolutely, yes. I think the first thing they need to understand is that it's important that they do their own research and make sure they're dealing with only reputable exchanges. And essentially, when you adopt blockchain technology and cryptocurrency, you become your own bank. So the onus is on you to ensure that you know the technology, understand the technology, and when you're making payments or sending out payments, you double check and triple check the wallet address. Make sure you know who you're sending funds to. So it's basically it's you self-managing your funds. You're not relying on a third party or a bank to do it for you. So with that comes a lot of freedom, but it's also a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, I'm saying that in the early in 2019, when we were trying to involve government institutions like the central bank, they were really resistant and they didn't want anything to do with cryptocurrencies, anything to mention. I mean, even blockchain was bundled together with the and all that. But recently, the last 1 year, it's been different because at least banks, including board of directors, want to setting aside budgets to listen to what blockchain is and are doing research on this. And including central bank governor, for instance, in Kenya, changed the stance on cryptocurrencies. And at least we can now see new developments in the area. We see the release of the central bank digital currency discussion paper, which shows that we are moving to the direction of some adoption and some regulatory frameworks in this market. We always take it that decentralization is what we say, like when you make your bed, you have to lie on it. You get benefit of decentralization, but you must be willing also to have face the risk of there not being a customer service to help you recover your funds. So it's another level of due diligence, another level of being keen to ensure that you are sending funds to the right address. And I believe that solutions are trying to come in the middle to try to help with regard to recovery of funds. But what I have realized with some of the solutions is that it also compromises the level of decentralization. So for us to get that recovery, we have to compromise some level of decentralization. So we have to choose what we want.
I think Benjamin's hit the nail on the head. The onus is on us. I mean, if you want to be your own bank, then it comes with a certain responsibility. You got to educate yourself on how the platforms work, how the technology works, and you got to double check and triple check. It's an extra layer of work you got to do, but it's worth it if you look at the benefits of decentralization.
First, security issues. One, what I've realized is that blockchain, while is secure, the security is as good as the integrity of the code. If there are loopholes in the smart contract, there's going to be loophole in the entire in that system. Yeah. So not a matter of blockchain; it's a matter of how solid is the code. Yeah. If there are loopholes in the code, is going to be hackable. It's going to be compromisable. Yeah. So the way the code and the way we and what I've realized that is also compromising the security of blockchain is that a lot of things, developments have come into trying to improve scalability of blockchain platforms and trying to improve on usability. And there are a lot of users of, for instance, bridges and all these. And in the process of all these integrations, sometimes a number of loopholes are left out because these are new developments. They have not matured as much as, for instance, the Ethereum blockchain. They have not matured as much as, for instance, the Bitcoin blockchain. So they're new trials, the bridges, the use of a number of integrations, the Lightning Network, and some of them have not been with us for 10 years, like the Bitcoin blockchain. Yeah, Bitcoin blockchain has been here for 10 years, for over 10 years. So I think that the security is just as good as the integrity of the code, the solidity of the code. If the code has loopholes,
once again, 100% spot on. I mean, there was a case recently of about 100 NFT projects using one developer from Fiverr. And what this guy did was he created a backdoor in the smart contract, and nobody picked it up. And the thing is, often it's an oversight, or the guys didn't cover all the loopholes. But in some cases, it's developers who would deliberately put in backdoors so they can obviously siphon out funds at a later stage. That's why I say, like I said earlier, it's important to deal with projects that have been audited already by a reputable audit company like Certec and stuff like that. Nothing is 100% bulletproof or foolproof. I mean, like Benjamin also mentioned earlier, with your mature blockchains like Bitcoin and Ether, because they're so mature, the chance of a 51% attack is more unlikely. But with your newer blockchains, when there's a limited number of miners in the pool, the chance of a 51% attack is actually increased until that blockchain matures. So, nothing is 100% foolproof, unfortunately.
Oh, all right. So what I was saying is that I agree with Daryl on the sense that if you're looking at the consensus protocol, for instance, that Bitcoin uses, while there is an expense to it, but also this expense also is part of what makes it really secure. But you see, with the onset of new blockchain platforms and the use of diversified consensus protocols, some of these consensus protocols have really lowered the cost of mining, but at a trade-off of a lower security. So that's really risky in the sense that we may get lower costs with regard to mining and consensus protocols, but we may not get the security of Bitcoin. So if you choose a different consensus protocol, don't seek to get the security of proof of work that Bitcoin has provided, because it's expensive. It's a 51% attack is very expensive when it comes to Bitcoin. Trying to reverse that is really expensive compared to when the cost is lower. I mean, hackers may be able to give it a shot, but not in Bitcoin blockchain.
Depends on some platforms will have a 3-factor authentication. They would send you a PIN to your mobile device, and they'll also have a Google Authenticator app installed, which works quite well. That's definitely better than your standard SMS 2-factor authentication. But yeah, I mean, look, it all depends on the platforms. Some platforms have different authentication methods, and it all depends on you how much security you want to put in place.
I think trying to really also improve on the security. It's many times is also because many of these things for a number of platforms are options. For instance, if you're on the Binance platform, there are multiple options for you to add an extra layer of security on your account. So it's usually the choice of the user. Sometimes the user wants something he can use spot on. When he logs in, he wants to go straight to be able to transact. He doesn't want to go through all these layers to verify that it's him. Until that day, something happens on his account, then he realizes the importance of all these layers. So it also on the user. I mean, the security of blockchain being decentralized, the responsibility is much on the user than on the platform.
I think there depends on if it's on an exchange and you find out in time and you contact the support, They might be able to freeze your funds before it's taken out. If it's on your own personal wallet and you got your private keys, then you're going to have to kiss that money goodbye, unfortunately.
That's spot on. There's not really nothing much to it, because it's about whether the wallet is custodial or non-custodial. If it's a non-custodial wallet, it's between you and yourself. I mean, if you compromise the storage of your private key, of your recovery phrase, of your private key, it's up to you. There is no way or no one on earth that can help you. And it doesn't matter the amount, by the way, whether it's $3 trillion, there's nobody who's going to help you. So these are decisions that somebody should make right at the time you're storing your coins. You should make these decisions. You should look at the risk factors and be aware of the risks that you're getting yourself into. You should be aware that when you lose your wallet addresses, you will not be able to access your funds. But when you realize, for instance, if it's an uncustodial wallet and you realize that probably your wallet is compromised, you should move with speed and check if the funds have not been transferred, then make a quick action to ensure that you transfer those funds to a different wallet. Yeah, but with regard to exchange, of course, you can be able to find some help from the support, especially if the funds have not been transferred already. The difference between a hot wallet and a cold wallet simply is that a hot wallet makes it your wallet is hosted online, yeah, which means you need internet to access this wallet, yeah. A cold wallet means you're offline, yeah. Which means if it's a paper wallet, for instance, or a hardware wallet, these are wallets that cannot easily be, you don't need internet, yeah, to be able to access them. For instance, for a hardware wallet, if you're using, for instance, Trezor One, you can be able to just plug it in and then transfer your funds and you unplug it. So you will be storing your funds, but the gadget will be totally offline. So nobody, even the greatest hacker from Russia, cannot be able to hack it when it's on your hardware wallet and off the internet.
Well, I think without even asking Benjamin, I already know this, that he's probably quite involved in educating people within his circle of influence about blockchain technology and cryptocurrency. And I know this because anyone that's involved in the industry and understands the technology is passionate about it. And when you're passionate about something, you tend to talk about it all the time to people within your circle of influence. So yes, as much as we have a responsibility to do it, I think we naturally do it anyway, because we're so passionate about it. Benjamin, am I right?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I think there is nobody else that is going to adopt this technology if we do not do our part in the industry. If I give an example, for instance, in the East African market, particularly in Kenya, if the people were doing the education, if in 2018, I sat down and watched the market go to crypto scams and fake hype bubbles around the market, if I sat back and watched and did not start doing some education, educating people on the blockchain technology itself and why is crypto, because when I came into the market, nobody knew about blockchain in this market. A few people knew about blockchain, but most people, unless you mention Bitcoin, they will not know about anything you're talking about. But today, at least people understand, and corporate executives have come back to the conversation. They are back to the boardroom to talk about blockchain and cryptocurrencies. Yeah. So there is nothing, even the government, even parliament, that should pass laws about cryptocurrencies to create a regulatory framework, a proper regulatory environment. They cannot do anything because 90% of them don't understand anything about crypto, about blockchain. So it's us to put more content. It's us to continue shouting, to continue giving content and educating these people, conversing about blockchain and cryptocurrencies freely, whether in media stations, whether in, through webinars like this. There is a great impact. This is what we've been doing for the last 4 years. And we can look in the market and see the impact. So there's really nothing different that we need to do. We just need to scale what we've been doing and do it much more. and we'll be able to impact the industry, and mass adoption will be witnessed. Thank you.
Possible, but the chance that is highly unlikely, I think. It's more likely the US dollar won't exist.
I think, I mean, these are technologies. We're talking about the fourth industrial revolution technologies, yeah? Technologies, they are revolutionary technologies and they are evolutionary technologies. So blockchain itself, or decentralized applications, are revolutionary technologies. So there will be other technologies that will be built on top of blockchain. So we don't expect any soon for there to be a revolutionary technology to unseat blockchain. So we are going to have blockchain for the next several years. Yeah, there will be solutions built on. I mean, nothing has unseated the internet. Yeah, so there will just be developments on top of these new innovations. There will be improvements and new innovations on top of it.
Pretty much circle back to what Benjamin has said is that people need to take responsibility and understand that if they're going forward with this technology, they need to realize that the onus is on them to protect their funds, and they shouldn't rely on anybody else. And in fact, they shouldn't move forward with blockchain or cryptocurrency until they actually understand the technology and how it works and what makes it so important. Then they'll obviously understand the value of it, and they'll realize, okay, it's worth making this extra efforts to protect my funds.
Yeah, thank you. I think I will just emphasize on what Daryl has said. Somebody would once said, actually, Dr. Miles once said that when the purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. So if we do not know the purpose of blockchain technology, yeah, and cryptocurrencies, and you just come from nowhere and jump into cryptocurrency, trying to ride on the hype, I mean, you will be bruised. So you really need to sit down and learn how this technology works. Why is everybody running around about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies? Learn about the technology, understand how the wallets work, and then you can be able to adopt. Yeah, there is a process to this adoption. You don't just come from anywhere and you jump on Bitcoin. You will be bruised and you lose a lot of your assets. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.
Cheers, Benjamin. Take care.